Hello and welcome back to the Human Manual. I am your host Ankit, and today we will continue with the text 17 of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Till now we had completed till text 16 of the second chapter. And before we continue, if you have not subscribed to my channel, then please subscribe to it. Press the like buttons and press the notification bell too if you want to get notifications about my new videos. So we had seen in the text, previous text 14, 15 and 16, where Krishna is describing about the qualities of the soul, its imperishable nature, and he is also continuing to speak on the text 17 about the further qualities of the soul, and we will come to know about the soul and its importance in our life. What is soul? Who is actually the soul? Are we the soul, or is soul different from us, or whatever is there? We will get to know in the text 17 of the second chapter. And yes, before we continue, we shall pray. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjanasalakaya Chaksusurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So we will continue with text 17 of the second chapter. Avinasi tu tad vidhi jena sarvam idam tatam vinasam avyayaschasya nakaschit kartum arati. The English translation of this Sanskrit text is: that which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So what pervades our entire body? Our consciousness, right? So the consciousness pervades the entire body. But what is the source of that consciousness? That is the soul, right? The soul is imperishable, and that soul is also indestructible. So what do we come to know about the soul? That it is imperishable. Now we will read the purport and get further insights into the meaning of this text. The purport is: this verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. So this soul is spread all over the body through what we know as consciousness. We know what consciousness is, right? Someone who is conscious is having consciousness. So the soul is present inside our body in the form of consciousness, what the modern scientists, the medical doctors, or the material scientists call it as the consciousness. But the soul is the source of consciousness. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body. It is consciousness. Everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasures of the body in part or as whole. We feel pleasures, we feel pain in different parts of the body, as on a particular part, or maybe as a whole. But why do we feel it? Because we are conscious. Only a conscious person can feel pain or pleasure. And how do we feel that? Through our senses. If the senses are dead, it means you are unconscious. So basically the presence of senses represent that we are conscious. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. Now this consciousness which I am having or you are having, it is limited to your own body or my body itself. Not that if I am being hurt, suppose physically, someone else is going to feel the pain. It's not like that. If I am being hurt, only I am going to feel the pain. It means what? The consciousness is limited only to my body. It's not connected to any other body. The pains and pleasures of one body are unknown to another. This everyone knows. Therefore, each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul, and the symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. So each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul. So because only I can feel whatever pleasure and pain I am witnessing, it means I have an individual consciousness, and the source of the consciousness is the soul. So it means each and every body is having an individual soul, which only by which only they individually can feel the pleasure and pain. This soul, which is present inside each and every body, is described as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. So this soul, which is present inside each and every living entity or each and every living body, the size is described here as the 10,000th part of the tip point of the hair. So you can just imagine how tiny it is. It is next to impossible by the human eyes, or even through the technologies the scientists have developed, especially the electron microscope. You can say that is the scientists who have developed that electron microscope, even through that also the soul cannot be perceived. It is confirmed, this size of the soul is confirmed in the Svetasvatara Upanishad in the 5.9, in the chapter 5 and 9th text, that Balagra Sata Bhagasya Satadha Kalpitasya Cha Bhago Jivah Savigneya Sachanantayaya Kalpate, which means when the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. So that means what? 100 into 100 means 10,000. So it is 10,000 times 10,000 part of the tip point of a hair. Now what is the tip point of a hair? It's like the point of a needle, you can say. And if we divide that point into 10,000 part, that is the size of a spirit soul. Kesagra sata bhagasya satam sahasadrasatmakah jiva sukshma swarupoyam sankhya tito hi chitkanaha. It is further explained in the same version. There are innumerable particles of spiritual atoms which are measured as 1/10,000 of the upper portion of the hair. So that is the size of the spirit soul, and therefore it is hardly impossible, it's next to impossible to perceive the soul inside anyone or inside each of us through this material eye or through the technologies which have developed till now. I don't know about future, but till now it's impossible. Therefore, the individual particle of spirit soul is a spiritual atom smaller than the material atoms, and such atoms are innumerable. So these spiritual atoms, the spirit souls, are even smaller than the material atoms, quite fittingly, and such atoms are innumerable. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body, as the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. So you can just imagine the power of this tiny little small spirit soul which is present inside the body. That is the source of consciousness inside our body. Because of that, we are able to feel the pains and pleasures and emotions and whatever is there inside our body. So that is, you can just imagine the potential of that spirit soul which is present inside the body. Its flow inside the body, or its presence inside the body, is similar like the effect of a medicine inside the body, effect of an active medicine inside the body. When we take the medicine, it spreads all over the body through the blood. Similarly, the effect of the soul is present in every part of the body through the consciousness. This current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is the proof of the presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. So any sane man can understand that a body without any consciousness is a dead body. Even unconsciously, when a person dies, we don't take the name of the person. We simply call it a body. Okay, bring the dead body here, or bring the body here. The body is rotten. We don't take the name of that person because even unconsciously we know that that person has already left. So what are we identifying with? Are we identifying with the body? No, right? Even unconsciously, even unknowingly, even not understanding the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, we still say that we still unconsciously don't identify the body with the... We don't identify ourselves with the body. We identify ourselves with the consciousness which left the body when the body is dead. So we unconsciously know that what is keeping us alive. Why are we alive? It's the presence of the soul which is keeping the consciousness inside the body, and hence the body is alive. So therefore, any layman can understand that the material body minus the consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. By any means, if the person is dead, he cannot be bring back to life if the soul has left the body. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but because of the spirit soul. In the Mundaka Upanishad, chapter 3, in 1.9, the measurement of the atomic spirit soul is further explained. So in the Mundaka Upanishad, it is also further explained. Eso nuratma chetasa veditavyo yasmin pranaha panchadaha samivesa pranascha chittam sarvam mutam pragyanam yasmin visuddhe vibhavate esha atma, which means the soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. So in the previous purport, in the previous explanation, we could understand that it cannot be perceived by our material eyes. It cannot be perceived by the technologies we have developed, the technologies we have. But it doesn't mean that it cannot be perceived. It can be perceived, but how? It can be perceived by perfect intelligence. Let us take an example of an X-ray. You all have seen how an X-ray looks, right? But suppose there is an illiterate person and you hand over that X-ray film to that person. Will he be able to identify, or will he be able to understand what that structure is, what which part of the body does that represent? No, right? But if you hand over that X-ray film to any doctor, suppose, he will be perfectly able to understand, he will be perfectly be able to identify what is that structure, which part of the body represents that X-ray film. So how is he able to perceive that X-ray film and not that illiterate person? Because he has that intelligence through which he has that vision through which he is able to perceive what does that X-ray film look alike, or what does that X-ray film mean. Similarly, we will also be able to identify the soul. We will be also able to perceive the soul if we have the perfect vision. And that perfect vision comes by the perfect intelligence. This atomic soul, so it is further explained in how is the soul situated inside our body. This atomic soul is floating in 5 kinds of air, which are Pran, Apan, Vyan, Saman and Udan. Is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body. The soul spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. So this soul is basically floating in 5 kinds of air, namely Pran, Apan, Vyan, Saman and Udan, and is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, which I had just named, which is Pran, Apan, Vyan, Saman and Udan, its spiritual influence is exhibited. So, what do we come to know in this particular text? We have come to know that this the spiritual influence of the atomic soul which is present inside our body cannot be completely exhibited unless and until it is free of the 5 kinds of material air in which it is floating currently. So how to get out of that situation, how to get rid of the embodied soul which is floating inside the 5 kinds of air? There is a yoga known as Hatha Yoga. The Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air, encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit, but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So by Hatha Yoga, we can get rid, or we can free the soul from the attachment to the 5 kinds of material air or the material atmosphere. So Hatha Yoga is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air which is encircling the soul, which is completely pure. The soul is completely pure, and it is done by different kinds of sitting postures. And this Hatha Yoga is not done for any material benefits, but for liberation of the soul, of the minute soul, from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So the constitution of the atomic soul is admitted in all Vedic literatures, and it is also certainly felt. It is also actually felt in the practical experience of any sane man. Only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all pervading Vishnu Tattva. The influence of the atomic soul can be spread all over the particular body. According to the Mundaka Upanishad, the atomic soul is situated in the heart of every living entity, as we already came to know. And because the measurement of the atomic soul is beyond the power of appreciation of the material scientists, some of them assert foolishly that there is no soul. And that's quite obvious. If you are not able to perceive it, we will say that, yeah, it doesn't exist. isn't it? But that's not the truth. Suppose there is a person who has, suppose, 6 by 6 vision, not like me. Even though when we wear glasses, we will be having 6 by 6 vision. And we see a car which is made up of metal body and many other uh, elements of the earth. By looking at it, we can say, yeah, this is a car. And there comes a person who is blind from birth, suppose. And he has never been told what is a car, what it looks like, how does it feel. He has never been told anything about the car. And this person who is completely, who has a full vision, he tells him that, okay, can you see this? Can you feel this? He obviously cannot see through the eyes, but he tells him that, okay, you touch this car, and this metal body is a car which we drive on the road. We use it to it's a means of transport. But this person who is a blind, if he doesn't have any faith on that man who has complete vision, he tells him that, no, this looks like a metal body, but I don't believe that this is a car. So who is foolish in this case? That blind person is foolish, right? Just because he is not able to see or perceive the shape and presence of that car, it doesn't mean that that car doesn't exist, or it doesn't mean that that particular shape doesn't represent a car. So similarly, if we are not able to perceive the soul, it doesn't mean that the soul doesn't exist. And that is our foolishness. That is completely our foolishness to say that. If we are not able to perceive anything, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. We haven't been able to see the aliens in the entire universe, so it doesn't mean that they are not existing. If the scientists can accept that, yeah, maybe aliens exist, why can't you accept the presence of soul inside our body? And presence of soul is what? It's you yourself. You just believe that there is a consciousness, but you don't believe the source of that consciousness. So it doesn't mean that the soul is not going to exist. The individual atomic soul is definitely there in the heart, along with the super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead. And thus all the energies of bodily movement are emanating from this part of the body through the channel of consciousness. The corpuscles which carry the oxygen from the lungs gather energy from the soul. When the soul passes away from this position, the activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. So the corpuscles which carry the oxygen from the lungs gather energy from where? It gathers energy from the soul. So when the soul passes away from this body, it leaves the body, the activity of the blood which generates fusion, it ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of the red blood corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does admit that the heart is the seat of all energies of the body, as already I explained through the example. You are accepting that it's a metal body, but you are not accepting that it is a car. So you are accepting that the heart is the source of energy to the body, but you are not accepting what is the source of that energy in the heart. How is heart beating? You don't have any answer to that, but you are not ready to believe even how it is working. Such atomic particles of the spirit soul are compared to the sunshine molecules. So such atomic particles of the spirit soul can be compared to the sunshine molecules. For example, in the sunshine there are innumerable radiant molecules. We already know that in the sunshine there are photons, basically we say that light particles. So there are infinite number of that light particles in the sunshine or in a light. Similarly, the fragmental parts of the Supreme Lord are atomic sparks of the rays of the Supreme Lord, called by the name Prabha or superior energy. So that soul, that atomic spark which is present inside our body, is similar to the light particles in the sunshine, whereas the sun is the Supreme Lord himself, and the sunshine, that particles that can be compared to the souls inside our body. And that spark, that sunshine, which is that spiritual energy which is emanating from the Supreme Lord, it is known as Prabha, which also means as superior energy. So whether one follows Vedic knowledge or modern science, one cannot deny the existence of the spirit soul in the body. And the science of the spirit soul is explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita by the personality of Godhead himself. So this is proved by the personality of Godhead himself. What is the source of energy? Now the thing is that, okay, I cannot perceive the existence of soul, but how will I be able to perceive? That is the question, and that is a very important question. How we will be able to come to know that, yeah, a soul exists? How we will be able to identify ourselves with the soul? What is the soul actually? And what is the relationship between that pure soul with the Supreme Lord himself? The answer is that, suppose when we want to learn something, we approach a person who is already expert in that, right? Or maybe we approach a person who has already that vision inside him. Suppose we want to study medicine, what we will do? We will reach the doctor. As I explained earlier in this lecture about that X-ray film. If that, suppose, illiterate person wants to understand what does this X-ray film represent, he has to study, he has to understand it from the doctor himself. He has to go through all the process what the doctor prescribes him. Okay, because why? He is an expert, and he will tell him, okay, I gained this vision through this method, and therefore you should follow this process. And he has to keep association with that doctor. Similarly, when we also want to understand what is the spirit soul, we also want to perceive the spirit soul, we also want to have that vision, we also need to associate with the saints, those holy saints who already have this vision, who are able to perceive the presence of soul inside each of the living entity, including themselves, who are able to perceive the presence of God. And by associating with these saints, by learning from them, by following the orders or advices of them, we will also be able to perceive the presence of soul. So this is the way anything is proceed. If anything we want to learn, we should search for a person who is expert in that. And I think everyone will agree with this. You cannot learn on your own anything. So even to perceive the presence of soul, we need to reach the persons who are expert in that, the saints, the sadhus, the persons who are pure devotee of the Lord, who are able to visualize the presence of soul. So that was text 17 of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. If you have not subscribed to my channel, then please subscribe to it. Press the like button if you liked my video, and see you next time in the text 18. Bye bye.